Most people believe that monsters hide in the deep darkness, waiting for the right moment to strike. Sometimes the real danger wears ordinary clothes, has an active social media profile, and smiles gently for the cameras.
This is the story of Mackenzie Shirilla, a young woman of just 17 years old who transformed her own car into a weapon of mass execution, deliberately accelerating to 160 kilometers per hour against a brick wall. What appeared to be a tragic youth accident soon revealed the tracks of a cold, calculating, and relentless mind. But what happens in the darkest corners of someone's mind to turn a relationship into a minutely calculated death sentence? How can the pursuit of control erase any trace of human empathy?
The German philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer once wrote that human selfishness is a force so terribly magnetic that to satisfy a personal whim or protect their own pride, an individual is perfectly capable of reducing the entire world to ruins. In the modern era, the era of hyperexposure and constant digital validation, we've been conditioned to feed our ego every second through screens, transforming our own image into an unshakable sanctuary.
And that is exactly where danger proliferates. When a narcissist's mind is wounded by rejection, it does not process the pain like ordinary malleable or reflective sadness, it processes it as an existential humiliation, a direct affront to their sovereignty that demands a proportional retaliation. The line between what we call passion and what is actually a positiveness sick has become dangerously thin in our society. It is no longer about loving the other, but rather about possessing the other as an extension of one's own domain. In July 2022, detectives analyzing the crash began to notice inconsistencies that physics could not justify as a mere human error. Dominic Russo, Mackenzie's boyfriend, was determined to put a definitive end to a volatile and exhausting 4-year relationship. To Mackenzie's mind, that decision represented the collapse of her control. The internal logic of her obsession followed the darkest path possible. If you won't be mine, you won't belong to anyone else. Forensic expertise extracted the data from the vehicle's onboard computer, and the verdict was devastating. In the final seconds leading up to the brutal impact against the metal and brick structure of a warehouse, the accelerator pedal was pressed to 100% of its mechanical capacity. The braking system was never touched. There was no swerving, there was no hesitation. Days before, Mackenzie had visited that same deserted industrial alley in the early hours of the morning, mapping out the ideal scenario for her outcome. Davian Flanagan, a 19-year-old friend who was in the back seat, was merely collateral damage, a life cut short simply for being in the wrong place, at the wrong time, under the illusion that he was just catching a ride home. But what truly shocked behavioral analysts and forensic psychologists was not just the planning of the crime, but the clinical behavior displayed by Mackenzie in the following months. While two families copied with the devastating grief and silence of their dead children, the young TikToker was seen attending Halloween parties, dancing at music festivals, and posting content on social media with a baffling apparent normalcy.
The philosopher Hannah Arendt coined the term banality of evil to describe the terrifying ability of certain individuals to commit acts of extreme cruelty without ever processing the weight and malice of their own actions. Recently, from inside a maximum security cell, Mackenzie broke her silence. She claimed she suffers from a rare medical condition that causes sudden blackouts and cardiac arrhythmia, arguing that she lost consciousness moments before the crash.
She declared, "I was the driver of a tragedy, but I am not a murderer." However, behavioral science and psychology offer little room for doubt. The body and speech may try to simulate innocence and despair in the face of a life sentence, but the mechanical tracks left by the mind in the black box of reality are impossible to erase. In the end, the tragic case of Mackenzie Shirilla leaves us a silent, more urgent warning. Real danger does not reside in dark alleys, in mystical figures, or in stereotypical movie villains. It resides, subtly, in the minds of those who have become so obsessed with the reflection of their own ego that they are perfectly capable of putting out the light of everyone around them just so they don't lose control. The line that separates civility from pure emotional savagery is much thinner than we dare to admit. Protect your mind, observe the invisible signs around you, and remember, sometimes the deadliest camouflage of all is everyday normalcy. If you value the pursuit of truth and the deep analysis of the mysteries of the human mind, subscribe to Human Mind. See you in the next narrative.